Hey everyone, it's Blake. Welcome in to episode 2 of our Exploring the CVerse series here on the channel. We are episode 1. We looked at the SWF and got some great feedback on that. You guys seem to enjoy it. And again, like I said, this is more too, like, I know there are a lot of people who have played the CVerse a lot more than I have over the years, but this is like knowledge for me. Like, I enjoy kind of looking through these companies and just kind of, going in and just saying, hey, let's just dive into it and I will give you my opinions on the fly rather than, me going in and playing with this company for a year or something. I'm just going to give you my thoughts on it. And so it's kind of fun to do because, like I said, it's the CVerse to me, like, there's a lot more flexibility. Whereas, playing as many real world mods as I do, sometimes there is just the tendency to, like, okay, I need to book this way because this person in real life wouldn't be booked this way. And of course, like, the stats and everything, like, you're like, oh, this guy shouldn't be rated this low or that, or it's just all those different things. Like the CVerse, it's your own little universe here where, there's only so much I can say about it because it is a completely fresh universe to my mind in terms of just looking at the different ratings and everything. I don't know whether that's proper or not. I'm just going to go with it and say, all right, those are accurate, and let's roll with what those ratings are. So I think there's just a lot more flexibility. So I do like playing these games in terms of like the CVerse saves, because to me, like, there's just a lot of fun possibilities and different stories you can play around with on that. So we're to TCW here on this one, and we're looking at Total Championship Wrestling. Always been one of my favorites to play with, although I can't say I've ever really, like, stuck with a long-term save with TCW, but I always, like, start a new one at some point with TCW, like in each iteration of the game, I feel like. And of course now you look at where they are, third in the world, medium size. They've got some money now at 10 million. And we look at the backstory here for them. Of course, almost going bankrupt several years ago, but now being bought out, having a little financial backing. But you do kind of have to overcome the thought of having lost some of your top stars. So that leads to some different, interesting scenarios, I think, for TCW there. And of course, quickly, 80 prestige, 72 momentum. And you look at the size, 72 across the board in the US of A. You're going for big as your next size here. Canada, you got a little bit of stuff there, but it's pretty much USA and a little Canada reach there. And that's when you kind of look at the coverage. Pretty much all your broadcast coverage, or really all your broadcast coverage, is in the United States. So that can be a goal. How do we expand our coverage beyond and be able to find ways to do that? So that's something that kind of interesting you can play with. I look at this number here on the roster, 37 active wrestlers. When I'm playing with WWE and AEW saves and we got 100 plus on there, 37 is a beautiful thing. So a lot less stress when it comes to having to figure out what to do with everyone. So I do like that about TCW, and I'll get into that in just a second. Of course, the product, that's a big part of it. And of course, this is, whereas the SWF, I've said before, to me has always just been, it's been the WWE-esque style. The TCW to me has always been more of the, classic NWA, or if you go back to the, early 80s Mid-South wrestling, which is kind of fun to think about since TCW is located in the Mid-South, your classic Southern wrestling. So it's, a lot of matches here, 90% on your events, 10% angles. TV shows still, bulk is matches. Like, you're focusing on the wrestling. And kayfabe is 100% in full effect here in TCW. So I do like that aspect as someone that's, a fan of old school wrestling. So that is appealing to me should I eventually choose to do a TCW save on the channel. So I like that idea for sure. When you look at that elsewhere, if we look at kind of our backstage, not a lot to worry about here. You got some negative influences, but only mildly. You don't have anyone that's just over the top. So I like that idea too. You don't have to worry that's not even really a big part of the game. So you don't really have to worry about that much at all. There, our events and our TV schedule. Once again, love the idea there's only one TV show a week, not multiple. And so you've got your, Total Wrestling every single week on Tuesdays. And that's, kind of your classic sort of weekly television show. And what I like too about TCW is that if I start in January, which of course you can start anytime, you can change the date. But, I have 5 months to build up to my big show, Total Mayhem, our legendary show. Our season finale is going to be 5 months away. So, like, for example, if I was starting a WWE save in January, I'm like, oh gosh, I've got to immediately jump into the Rumble. Then I'm only 2 months away from WrestleMania. Like, I got to get all this stuff going. Whereas this, I like the idea of just, okay, I got 5 months to build up to my biggest stories and all that. So I do like kind of the fun nature of having that option to just have a little wiggle room there to work with, and several months of storylines to build up and all that. So I like that idea. For there, like I mentioned, finance we've already looked at, $10 million to work with on that. Let's look at our tag team situation. I think something that kind of stands out with the tag teams is, you can kind of make this your own. Although again, you only have 37 wrestlers, which that's not a huge roster by any means. So you're not going to have 15 tag teams here. But we got a couple teams here with some experience. Got the Elite, the Behemoths here, in the 50s in terms of their experience, but not, you don't really have any of those 100 experienced teams to work with in TCW, which is fine, because you've got a lot of really good, I think, singles wrestlers here to work with. And like we said, you are, having the option to kind of build up some new stars too. So the Center Society, one of the two stables in the company, led by Eddie Peake. Eddie Peake, man, he's just, you want to talk about a menacing guy here. Good star quality, a menace, and the heavyweight brawler. So I've always liked Eddie Peake, using him in some form or fashion. Just kind of, the hardcore legend here, if we will call him. So I like that kind of idea. But again, he's getting on up there now, up to 43 in age. So as you can see, he's kind of the mouthpiece for the group at this point. But a lot of badasses here in the Center Society, and I like their logo. This is just good stuff. So that's fun. Of course, the Syndicate is the legendary group. Tommy Cornell, the original stable here, relaunched with Wolf. Wolf's a top heel to work with in the company, so if you want to play with a top heel group, you've got that option here. This is certainly the biggest faction, and so they're kind of leading the way. And again, you can kind of use your heel tactics if you want with this crew, because there's a lot to work with on that. So I like that too. So to me, like I said, there's a lot of appeal with TCW from that regard. And by the way, I know Mike has left a comment. Mike's followed the channel, left some comments on the other saves that we do, but he said he's playing with TCW, running a diary with that. So, Mike, if you want to drop a link to that, or just give your, tips and tricks, anything you found like running TCW, what's been, some of the biggest challenges for you, what have you enjoyed the most? That's what I want to make these videos. Like, this is just me going through and like being like, hey, this is what I think. I want to know what you guys think. Like, I'm just curious what you think about all these different companies. If you're someone who's played these, a lot over the years, or if you're just someone that's new to this, you're like, oh, okay, well, I find this fascinating about TCW or so forth. So yeah, be sure to do that. I want the comments to be very engaging on these, because I think that's what makes it fun. So, all right, so we've looked at all that stuff. Quickly, you do have a training facility here, the School of Pro Wrestling Dojo. So you can, kind of look at your trainees there. So you've only got 6 people here as of right now in developmental, but that can also be something that you kind of look at in terms of star quality. Jalen Martin's here, 77 of the highest group. That is everyone you're working with thus far. So that is something that is kind of fun to think about too on that. So have we looked at the titles yet? I don't remember, but we're gonna do that now. You got the King of Kings. Actually, the reason I don't remember is because the second time I'm recording this, my recorder, once again, has not been consistent lately. So, second time I'm recording this video. King of Kings, your yearly tournament. And, I like the idea of that, kind of a yearly tournament to work with. That kind of starts the big push, as we know, towards Total Mayhem, our biggest show of the year. So, I do like that. And just kind of, when's King of Kings? I want to say that's in, November. So, King of Kings there doesn't have a graphic. I assume you can find one on that somewhere at this point. So you've got your King of Kings, and you've got your 3 championships. Television championship only defended on TV, so I like that concept too. It's an interesting belt logo. I don't know. It's I don't know, just visually, like, it stands out, but it's an interesting one. So Greg Gage, the champion there. Aaron Andrews, the top babyface in the promotion right now, is your world champion, and we'll look at the storylines here in a second. But of course, one of the biggest titles in terms of importance that there has been in the game, just because of all the people that have held it to this point. So a nice prestige there with an 82 for that, and then the tag team champions, of course, on that one. So speaking of the starting storylines, you do have some of these people here, and actually we're going to get into the roster first, then we'll look at the storylines, because one would be nice to have other than the other. So what I've done is I filtered here by major stars, and we'll do kind of, I did with the other ones, just kind of look at your top stars, then we'll look at some of the aspects that I like to look at in terms of the game. So to me, like, this is what I like. I dub these, like, these are your big 4 in TCW, and I like that because you've got 4, guys with top star power to work with here. You see kind of their overness levels in terms of popularity. But you've got the split, right? You've got a babyface in Andrews, a babyface in Bach here. Then you got Cord and Hawkins, and so you can really you're building your entire promotion around these 4 guys just because they've got good stats, they've got great star quality, and so there's just so many different combinations you can work with these 4. So I really like that idea about TCW having kind of your established 4 here. Even though, like we said, this is a company that's lost some other top stars, but behind them, there's some interesting talent. Mighty Mo, of course, is here, and there is some talent you can work with here. So I like that concept too. But again, what I really like as well, I forgot to do this a second ago. You look at your top 4 here. Like Andrews is only 33, Cord's only 29, Hawkins is only 33. So 3 of your top 4 stars are 33 or younger. So you got years of possibilities to work with these guys. Again, if you keep them under contract. But Bach's 41, he could still go for a little while. So that's one of the appealing things for me with TCW when I look at the kind of the roster. What I will do is kind of look at the star quality. You guys know I like looking at this. And again, you can pick different skills here. This is just what I do. That's just my thing. I like looking at the star quality, seeing if you have people that can work with. And you see here, there's a lot of guys here with 70 or higher star quality. So you got, and I've filtered it by wrestlers, so I put that on so you won't see like the announcers and that kind of stuff. But you've got a good group of talent to work with here if you want to build up some new stars and those kind of things. So you've got some, like I said, you got some older wrestlers, but there is a lot of possibilities with some of the other people here when you look at this. So if you want to build up T-Bone Bright, you can do it. So that's certainly an option you can do there. Next big breakout star. So he's got some good stats here too. So T-Bone Bright might be the next big thing in TCW. So, all right, we looked at that star quality. So I like the setup there. Let's look at kind of the roster and the state of the ages. Let's go 40 to 50 here. So you kind of, I like to look at this. I said in the previous video, if you didn't watch the previous video, I like to see, all right, who are the guys probably going to be headed out soon in terms of maybe, active wrestlers. And you see there's quite a few here that are going to be in that 40 plus range. So you never really know when the guys like this could retire, I suppose. So that's always something to keep in mind. I like to kind of look at that before I start a save. But, really if you go 30 to 40 now on the next group, you've got a good range here. So I think you've got a lot of good talent to work with. And like we said, I like the star quality with this roster. So that's something that I do find kind of fun to look at. Storylines, here's what I like too. Your starting storylines, you can essentially just stick with this if you want. You've got your top 4 stars, in two different storylines. So you've got Andrews versus Wolf Hawkins for the title, Cord versus Bach here. So realistically, you could spend the next 5 months building both of those big matches up for Total Mayhem. And that's kind of fun to do. But you've got some under ones here too that are considered hot because you only need 2 that are 50 or above. All the storylines right now hitting that. So if you want to start with the starting storylines, you can. And I just love the where's the beef. You got all your powerhouses in here, all in a storyline. So you guys know I'm all in on that. So I find that fun. So that's a fun starting storyline to look at there. So look, to me, there's a lot of fun stuff here with TCW. And again, you've got your big 4 here. Call them whatever you want. Your 4 pillars, however you want to look at it. But there's a lot to work with. You got a couple of next big things. You got a good group of hot prospects here. You can really look, dive into those skills, see what these guys can do. And just a lot of, I find this roster very appealing. And like I said, if you're someone that's, if you play with TCW a lot, let us know in the comments, like what's been your experience with them? What are some of the things you've accomplished, some of the challenges, some of the other stuff. I think it's kind of fun to look at the different ideas that people have had for different games. And with TCW, it is kind of the thing of building beyond losing some of your stars and just trying to keep that money flowing. And I think you've got 4 guys you can build around to do that with this company. So, TCW will definitely be in the running. If I had to pick right now, we're only two companies into this series, and we're not going to stop it there. But if I had to pick right now, I'd pick TCW over SWF. Because again, that's also me, booking sports entertainment style stuff for pretty much all the other saves I play. And I think TCW, you can have some of those elements of having angles, but this is more that old school approach. And I think TCW is very appealing for that. So yeah, I really like kind of the setup for TCW in this game. Of course, it is different. If you played them in past with different stars and the overall star power not there necessarily, but I think it's an interesting company to look at when you're in that battle. As third, trying to jump ahead. The SWF may maybe challenge USPW, which is going to be a challenge for sure. But I think there's a lot of cool stuff to work with TCW. So there you go. There are my thoughts on TCW. Again, let me know what you think. As always, be sure to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. As mentioned, if there's anything else you want to see with this series, if there's anything else you want me to look at in terms of when I go through each of these companies, let me know. I will be sure to add that in. I don't think there's a figurehead. Yeah, no figurehead in TCW, so did want to point that out. But let me know what you think about this company. Are you intrigued? Have you played with them? All that good stuff. And on the next episode of our Exploring the CVerse series, we will go to number 1 as we will look at USPW.